What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Hockey Lab podcast. As always, I'm your host, Coach A, here with.
Coach Guards.
And you look nice today.
I'm
I said it. I said it before we started, but I want to say it on air. You look lovely. You dressed up,
thank
professional. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no.
On the other hand, I do not. You know,
Yeah, I like it. You're
no,
rocking.
rocking with Ruby. We're representing.
Yeah.
Celebrating that little extra. So it's actually, I have a really small head, so this hat fits. So that's why it keeps going on too. But I do also like that we're sporting a good cause. Extra chromosome.
Good.
So
I like it.
This American Barbell is,
It's just supporting
we do here. Supporting what we do. Getting after it. Okay, a couple things in the docket today. Four Nations. Wrap up. We had a prequel, call it, episode, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then we'll chat a little bit playoff hockey.
Sure.
And then I thought we could talk about that in-between season between the Department of Redundancy Department. Talk about between end of the season, tryouts, and then into your off season, because it's a bit of an odd time for kids that are done early. So
yeah, some guys are done. Done for a while.
So I thought we'd talk about all those things.
Sure.
Inverse order. Should we go, or do you want to go Four Nations first? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we can hit on it quick. It was one game. I thought,
you're good call by you. Hard to beat a team back to back.
Yeah. Connor. I mean, great shot. Obviously, a nice pass by Marner. Just really, like, for me, it was just unbelievable. No room, no space out there.
Zero space.
Like, you watch the first week back or that Saturday games, and you're just like, guys are just kind of like a lot more room, and
the game looks so
slower. Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, obviously the intensity and the moment jacks it up, but I also just think that it's pretty cool how all those guys come together within 10 days, say, and are able to play within the system that the coaching staff wants them to play, and with the speed and caliber that they have, it just the ice rink just shrinks.
Yeah, the moment definitely matters. I mean, Gary's talked about this a little bit, maybe on the podcast, but I've been down to watch games with him in the city on Monday or Tuesday. Like, we've gone, people that we work with are in town to go down to watch the game. And whenever we're driving down, he always laughs. He's like, guaranteed the Leafs lose tonight. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, like, they play Hockey Night in Canada Saturday all the time. So it's like the 7:00 time slot. Like, everyone's there. Nation's watching. If they're playing at home, like, the rink's packed, everyone's out. He's like, the Leafs don't win on Monday or Tuesday because the moment is just so different.
Well, it's also because, I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's not to the same level, but we used to have it in Europe. It's like if you have a derby game or a big rival game, you get so high, and there's like the build up, and then it's like there's a crash, right? And it's really hard. And like, even last night, they were brutal in Vegas, and people are talking about being away from home and blah blah blah. I mean, they're human beings still. Like, it's hard.
A long time. Connor he must have not slept in his own bed for a month.
Yeah.
Because I think they had a game or two on the road prior. Yeah. And then he went from there to Four Nations, and then from Four Nations they were just on a 6-game swing.
Yeah. And I know we're all like, they stay in 5-star hotels.
It's not the same, doesn't matter.
But it's still not the same. It's home cooking. You have your routines, your special things. Like, you want to be home. I mean, you and I both know, even just like a weekend away or a tournament away with your kid at a hockey tournament, you're in a hotel for a couple of days, and it's just different. So, but back to the game was great. Awesome.
Tons of fun. No space. Shows how good everybody is. How, I think the coolest thing too for, teaching younger kids is like how good little things they do, good stick, good body position. There wasn't really too many huge hits. It's just really high speed, making sure that you weren't making mistakes, and limiting turnovers in certain parts of the rink, and key points, big face-offs. Face-offs were important. All the little details that you try to explain to kids, that like these things are important, very, very important, and you see it. And I think that rolls into the playoffs that we're dealing with now. But it's just and also, I think the big one is like, having the role that you have, and embracing it, and giving everything you got, and for the bigger good or the bigger win, right? Yeah. So how well, defense on both ends, pretty impressive. Like, Slavin was incredible out there. Yeah. But how impressive is Cale Makar? One of the biggest games of his career, and he's like last man back, and he just like walks around guys.
Yeah, like, I think we don't get enough time to see him and McKinnon out west. Yeah. And I mean, we're lucky enough to talk to Landy about him, but like,
there was a play like in the
he to me was the
best player out there.
There was a play in the third where he like picks up the puck deep in his own zone. And I talked to the guys like last week in Florida, and they're like, man, he like has it and you don't even worry. They're like, you don't even go back. Like, it's like, you don't need to go back and support. Like Kale's got, there was a play in, like, I think it was in the third where he picks up the puck in the corner, the guy's on him. He mohawk turns all the way around him.
Yeah,
like literally the whole way around him. And then he accelerates and he's gone. And there's like, 15 feet of space between the two of them.
His skating and his ability to, you know, head up and control the puck and make plays and like the long seam passes. Like,
oh, that's crazy.
I said this to somebody the other day, like it'd be really cool to go back to see, you know, and you can probably do it, to see what kind of coaches he had or how he was allowed to play. Obviously he has talent, but there had to be a time in his life where it was like,
someone said, don't dump it off the glass.
Yeah, just go ahead, try it, right? And yeah, he probably made thousands of mistakes. It's probably like a Michael Jordan thing where he missed so many shots, but man, he was lights out.
It is tough.
And that extra day off might have helped him too a little bit, like that first game
feeling
for
better.
sure.
Yeah,
feeling better. But like, boy, oh boy, like
it's hard when guys are in the West. It's hard to see them when you're in the East.
Yeah,
like if you're in the West, watching hockey is so much easier, right? Like you catch the games. You catch the games early.
Living out West is the best.
I know when my brother was out there. It was great sports days.
You get like 2 games and it's still time to go for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
So
whereas here it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, here it's like you're struggling to watch.
Fighting to stay awake.
Yeah, no, but yeah, he was very impressive. Well, obviously everybody was top notch, but I thought he stood out. And in the position he is, he can control things. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, tons of fun. It was awesome for the game. We were just talking about it too with Benny. If the PGA has like a player impact score, right? Like,
yeah, the Tiger wins all the time.
Well, yeah, just like in terms of like what sort of output and impact they have on the game.
Right.
The Tkachuk brothers, 1 and 2, maybe in hockey.
For sure, in the States, yeah. 100%.
I think just in general.
In general, like they were that family's put it back on the map, man.
We were in
not Florida. That it's not been off.
No, I know, but like they must. I don't even know how many new fans there are in the U.S. because of it. We were in Florida last week. We watched the Oilers play, and that arena impressed me. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, Amaran Arena or whatever it's called now. I think it's Amaran Arena. Like, we get in there. First off, it's so reasonable to go watch a game. Like, price point is all. If you're in the Toronto market, it's almost laughable, but really reasonable to go to watch a game. We had great seats. Like, you know, lower bowl, 20 rows up in the corner, like best seats in the house. And so like there's a little buzz in the arena, nothing crazy. And then the national anthem start, Canadian national anthem. No one boozed, in case anyone's wondering. It was very respectful, all good.
Yeah.
And then Star Spangled
Snowbirds down there though.
Yeah, it's true. And then Star Spangled Banner plays and they get to like Rockets Red Glare and the whole place yells it. Like I don't even know it's coming.
Yeah.
The whole place screams it out. And then from that point on, it was loud. It was awesome. We said it was amazing to see. Chanting, cheering, yelling, like booing. Like it was.
Yeah, and it's also the cup rematch.
I do get it. I know it's a big game, but nonetheless, for like South Florida, I was so impressed.
Walk out in your shorts after and flip flops.
Coldest rink I've ever been in.
Oh yeah.
I think because it's so warm outside, they have to drop the temp so much. Okay. I was shivering all game. I wore a t-shirt and jeans. I thought I was a cool guy. Spent the whole game
Everybody else
like
has
this.
Their parkas.
Yeah. The old timer, even there were like 2 older couple next to us. Really nice. It was so loud that the old timer took his foam, like number 1, and ripped it up and put it in his ears. It was
I love that he's got the number 1 going.
The number 1, the foam thing, he pulled pieces off and he put it in his ears.
Yeah.
So
I think
it was
national
awesome.
Anthems are like, there's ones that we don't see that are pretty cool. I still thought the Philly one was the best a couple of years ago when they would cut halfway through. She was singing and they put the older lady up on the Jumbotron that we used to do it back in the day.
Oh, really?
We'll have to get Cam to figure out which one.
With the light from above.
It was unbelievable. So
they take like their original.
So the first person would sing, and then it would cut to the lady on the Jumbotron, and it was from way back in the 50s or 70s or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and she did the second half.
Yeah, and I don't if it was Star Spangled or God Bless America or something. It was awesome.
That's
cool.
Like
rocking. So yeah, I mean America's huge, right? Like you just look at the amount of kids they have coming now with hockey, and you know before it was like 5-6 states. Now Florida's huge. LA, Texas. You know, there's some kids playing at my older guys' age that from Texas, and good hockey players, good athletes.
Yeah, good athletes.
Good athletes.
If you're a good athlete, then it helps.
Yeah,
it helps.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was actually tons of fun. We said even
one of the guys coming back, he's like, man, I feel guilty that I don't go. Like I don't bring the same energy when I go to Leafs games. He's like, I know it's a bit of a different environment.
It's a different crowd.
It's a different crowd, but he's like, I feel guilty that I'm not like contributing, trying to improve upon.
It's hard though. I think price point's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
It's a big thing, man. It's expensive.
And yeah, I get it. You know, if you pick a game, a Tuesday in Toronto versus a Saturday, two very different games, obviously. But this was like a Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday in Florida. So it's not like it was the weekend.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
It was awesome. Anyway, Four Nations, 97. You called it.
Yeah.
Big moment.
Goal.
Yeah. Speaking of doing the little things, maybe a bad moment for the U.S. to not do the little things wide open in front.
I think they
days
just,
of time.
You know, Marner stretched the zone a little bit, and it's like, you know, and you heard Connor say that they played this like box and one sort of defensive style, and he said that was where the, you know, sometimes the open areas can be because the centerman, you know, is jumping out a little bit more than he maybe should,
right?
Or they're stretching, but
and he like drives in and then kind of gets lost for a second, like loops up,
you know, and being, you know, I'm not blaming Matthews, but you know, you're taught always after faceoffs, or I was always taught like your centerman's your job, right?
Right.
Like you know, after you lose a faceoff, you got to cover him. But I think the play was broken enough where he started to be able to move around and just takes a quick second, eh? Great shot too. You know, opened his shoulders up, turned. Real nice. That was
awesome. Okay, what's going on in playoffs for you guys right now? Minor hockey.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you know, different styles. We talked about this before. The GTHL is you know, at a certain ages is just normal playoff style, and some of those guys are done, which we said like off season becomes very, very long, which is crazy because you jam pack everything in.
JRC reverse sweep. Yeah,
unfortunately for our boys. And then the OMHA has a 10-game round robin, and it's a grind. It's like
how many games in?
We're 5 in right now.
So halfway,
yeah.
And then top 4? Like
top 2.
Top 2.
So they split into 2 groups. So top 2 go. Yeah, it's a grind. I mean, like.
But then you go right to
OMHAs
from there? Okay.
4 guys go from one side, 4 goes from the other side. So.
Okay. And then winners of those go to, is it over for that age category or not? Or do you have.
I think it's over.
OHFs after that?
OHFs.
Cam's whispering, OHFs.
OHFs. Well, U14's OHFs, yeah. OHFs, but U12s, no.
No, nothing.
I think it's done.
Got it.
But yeah, like it's, you know, we talk about us all the time. How much do you play in the summer? How much do you do in the summer? How much hockey do you play in, you know, the spring? And I think it just catches up to kids.
Well, I talked to parents, their son plays out in Saskatchewan, really, really good player. And he loves the game. He's as passionate about the game as any of the top guys that we've worked with over the years. And they asked about, you know, end of the season coming up, like, what should we do? And I told him that he had to get off the ice.
Yeah.
You know, 3-4 weeks. He won't forget how to skate. I promise. Like, he'll be okay. And he was devastated because he's a kid and he wants to be on the ice. Even his dad, I think, was a little taken back. And the way I described it was a long-term athletic arc. It's not just one season.
Yeah.
You want to play this game professionally. So you want to play it for the next 20 years, right? You are 14 right now. Like, you hope that you play the game until you're 34, 35, like competitively as it matters. So if you're going to do that, like, we have to front load some rest. You can't just run it back to back to back to back to back to back and then think that, you know, when you're 18, 24, 28, it's not going to have an impact.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a hard thing for people to understand. I look at it like if you watch the NHL and you see Tampa's, those runs they made, those long years, right? It catches up to them. So if it's just in a short window we're looking at, then for kids, it's I think you see it. I think you see it a lot, and you see burnout, and you see that. I mean, kids like, I think I know who you're talking about, but kids like that are a special breed, and they maybe have that
mental
capacity and the sort of, I want to say, like, just the focus on just that. But at the same time, you got to pull him back a bit, right?
So,
like, you look at Bedard now. You know, he's gone 6 games without something. I know Chicago's a tough place for him, and he's been put a lot under. But like, even him, you wonder if all those years of all that hockey is starting to just catch up to him a little bit, right?
Well, the hockey's different now too. There's way more pressure when he gets on the ice now.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of pressure, so it's definitely an adjustment. Well, in the Olympic weightlifting space, there's, you know, a couple different countries and that dominate, and almost all of them follow the same model except for Bulgaria. So in in the US, the Soviet Union, in Asia, they have a large volume of like general work that they do. And then they have some specific work. So the primary lifts, we have a clean and jerk and a snatch, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we compete in.
Exactly.
So they do different exercises throughout the lead up to prepare. So maybe they'll do deadlifts or RDLs or good mornings or the exercises. Whatever. So the exercise doesn't really matter. But the point is they have variability of exercise, and then they get into their specific work. And that's the case across almost all the nations except for Bulgaria. The Bulgarians only do clean and jerk, squat, snatch. They just do the exercises they're going to compete in, and they do them twice a day, basically. And so their training volume is out of control. They train, I guess 12 to 16 times. And so the Bulgarian sports doctor that works for their Olympic team, he said that the issue is not that guys drop off their national team, they stop competing, not because their body breaks physically, because mentally they can't handle the stress of doing the exact same sport the whole time.
Yeah.
Because it is their sport. And so every day they're going in and pushing and they're trying to hit
they know
top numbers.
Yeah.
It's like I clean 340 kilos and I'm trying to hit 340 kilos 6 times a week. And it just breaks them mentally. And that's why they stop competing. Not because their body breaks down. They can tolerate the stress physically, but he's like, we've left great champions in the gym because they just can't do it over and over again, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Well, think about it, coming in every day and telling yourself this is what, practice looks like.
Exactly.
And I think that's a key to coaches too. That's why I think you got to switch it up. And I mean, you hear guys, we talk to them in the summer, they're like, same 5 drills, same 6 drills, same 7 drills. Like, could rhyme off practice.
Yeah.
I remember I could rhyme practice off on certain teams, but I like the kids to adapt and do different things and do different sports and do different movements and different games and get their brain working, right?
Yeah.
They train their brain a little bit more, they get tired. I mean, sure, you got to buckle down on a certain couple key elements, but it's I mean, I think we've talked about this before about the Norwegian model. They have the one year they had great Olympics, and they had, Winter Olympics, they had great success. And I guess their rule is like, they got to let every kid has to try everything. And there's no real, they don't cut to the chase or cut to the point of what your sport you're going to pick until like 12 or 14, I think they say.
You're open to it.
Yeah. So it's not really competitive. It's like, we want everybody to try stuff. We want to do different sports. We want them to do, different, movements, different stuff. And then around 14, they start to choose, and then they go off and they really hammer down.
Yeah.
And this sports minister swears by this, right? So,
you have a huge base of variability.
Yeah. And you're an athlete, and then you're like, okay, this really interests me. Cause now you get things, right? Like, who knows what some of these kids like? Right. I don't know. Do my kids really, do they love hockey, or is it just, that's all we've been exposed to? Right.
Maybe there's a different sport
like
they've never played.
We water ski in the summer. He's a really good water skier. Does he, like, if you said to him, hey, we're going to water ski all summer competitively, well, maybe that would take to it. I just, it's crazy. Like, obviously you grow up in it and you see the joys. There's a culture around it, right?
Of course.
But there's so many things out there.
Yeah.
So many things out there. So, but yeah, playoff time's a tough time. I think the stresses of games mean a little more. They're playing a little bit. You're playing a lot more games in a shorter period of time, less practice time. It's sort of change in weather. Kids are getting sick. March break's coming now. Like, so now you're going to deal with kids that are out of school all day and then come to practice. And at a younger age, it's hard to keep them engaged and focused. And, the special few can do it. And I think as a coach, it's difficult. Like, I'm trying everything. I got sheets up in the, in the room about, mindsets and what our stuff looks like, just trying to give them all the opportunity they can to, compete at a high level. But at the end of the day, I said to the coaches the other day, we really got to think about this. Like, it's 12-year-old hockey, and, at the end of the day, it's, development, and we're still trying to make kids better. And I think these are development years. I think the biggest thing I see at this time of year is like, kids learn or they don't learn when and when not to do things. Like, meaning, like when to take risks,
right?
When to, get pucks deep, when to try to move, make a high risk move or a pass. I think it's a big learning curve nowadays, right? Like,
that makes sense. Higher pressure situation.
Yeah.
And so the lessons that you learn are more impactful.
Yeah. And do you simplify it, to a point where it's like mundane, or do you just make the play that you see in front of you, and then, the kids that can execute maybe that little higher risk plays, they pick and choose their times. But I think it's a real learning experience, right?
You have to be exposed to that.
Yeah. And there's consequences that come with it, right?
Right.
And then the consequences probably make them to learn by it. Right?
Of course, yeah, a little pain.
And you don't want them to be under the pressure of like just panicking, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Like I knew, you want to simplify. You're trying to say simplify. Simplify means see it, make it, pucks deep. It's awful to say pucks deep, but like that doesn't mean dump it. That just means like get it down below where you guys can work at it and go wide. Don't try to beat guys on blue lines. And I don't know. It's hard, you just it's fun when they win and you see the success and the joy that they put into it, but it's really comes down to the competitive nature and compete factor, I think, at this time of year.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Well, good luck to everyone competing.
Yeah. And look, part of it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself because it is a long road, but at the same time, like,
it's okay to have stakes.
Yeah. And time goes fast.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe we're sitting here. It's like, we're ready to get the program running again, right?
Off season's around the corner.
Yeah. New facility. It's going to be amazing.
Speaking of off season, if you do have a little break, like what are you telling kids that you work with? If they got a break between now and tryouts, you're eliminated because tryouts, I think, are what kind of
end of April,
kind of right around Easter.
Yeah, I think it's a new world now.
It is a new world now.
Right. So
open borders,
commitments, who knows what it looks like. Obviously, I think a lot of parents have the right mentality. They're like, okay, we like what you're trying to do. We like your facility. We like your program. We like your coaching style. We like the competitive nature of practices. So maybe parents might be committing to teams, but obviously every parent says the same thing. Well, I'm not going to tell my kid I'm going to make him come out and try out, right? Which is great.
Is that something you get told a lot?
That's what I get told. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we don't want to tell our kid. I said, okay, perfect. But I think it's hard. It's hard in this world now. Like you say, take time off ice, but if you're
if you have tryouts coming up, I think it's a little bit of a different situation.
Yeah,
for sure. I think you can scale back for a week or two, for sure, 100%. Then you get back on, but then plan to have another week or two off. So, like, let's say we said you should take 4 weeks off the ice total.
Okay.
For your off season, it's okay to break it up. Maybe take a week and a half and then 2.5 later.
Yeah. So most of these guys will be done by the end of March in the OMHAs.
Yeah.
So they got 4 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're finished late March and you have 4 weeks to tryouts, I would probably say just run it right through, like continue.
Yeah, I would take a week off the ice, 10 days, maybe, and go in the gym, do something else, be a kid,
and then
add a couple ice sessions. Like you're not going to forget it.
No.
And but for those kids that are fighting for those last 3, 4, 5 spots, maybe they stay on the ice a little more. The thing though, I look at it like as a coach or as a person picking a team, tryouts matter. They do, right? Mm-hmm. But you and I both know if you're planning for a team, you're obviously going to know what you want beforehand.
You got a good idea.
You have a pretty good idea because kids can get sick, kids can have bad days, kids can be nervous. It's the body of work, and I think parents sometimes don't think that we look that far ahead or past, right? Like, I mean, he had a great tryout. He scored. You hear the one, he got 5 goals in a tryout. Well. Yeah, okay, you got 5 goals in that tryout game, but what did he do the last 3 months when I came to watch him play, right?
Right, you've seen him play a bunch of times.
So I was talking to 2 guys yesterday, buddies, good guys. One's a really good, was a good athlete in another sport, high level, and I was just chatting it up, and they said, we're out right now, and we're done now. Like we can't go on. We have to go down to a different. They call it the toilet bowl or whatever. But so one of the dads came they're both coaching, and one of the dads came to him and says, I guess, and they still have 2 games or 3 games. They said, I guess tryouts start tomorrow, meaning like these games matter for tryouts.
Yeah.
And the coaching were like, what do you mean? What? Like if your kid starts to compete tomorrow, why wasn't he competing at the start of playoffs or even a month before, right? Yeah, and it's a perfect example, right? Like, so now I'm going to play hard, so I want to be on this team next year, but the last month and a half, I didn't show anything, but it's okay because I show it now in 2 weeks. Like,
right.
So that's where I think it's a discord, right? Like, that's why every day you got to get better. If you're getting better all the way through the season, you get to the end of the season and you've gotten better, and then I think a coach is going to say, he's on the right trajectory. We see a future, right?
Yeah, even if you have a couple rough games at the end. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Right. But it's a body of work. And I tell this to my guy too. Like, it's a body of work for coaches. Like, if you don't practice well and you don't do things in practice that you're expected to do in a game, it's hard for a coach to trust you.
Right.
Right. Like, it's hard. And they have to figure that out on their own. Like, do the things in practice well. Like, Connor's the hardest worker in practice. Sid is the hardest worker in practice. They don't just come out and dog it.
No.
Nobody goes through the motions. I saw the U16s practice the other day. I'm not going to name names. I talked to the coach. I watched them do just a simple little passing drill, okay? Just a warm-up drill. And the 2 kids that were going the hardest and skating the best, and during the drill, snapping the drill passes, during the drill, shooting hard, skating hard, were the 2 highest ranked kids on the draft board. Like, first rounders.
Not a surprise. How you do something is how you usually do everything. So, not a surprise.
Okay. So at a young age, I'm trying to tell my guys, like, you have to. It took me a while to learn that.
Did it?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it took me a long time to learn that, but I think getting with pros, when I got with the Finns and we ran after practice, it didn't matter that we ran, but we just did everything a little bit together and worked harder and did extra. But I couldn't believe that. You saw it. You picked the 2 kids that worked the hardest, and you're like, oh, well, that's the kid that's leading the league.
Yep.
So I don't think within 3 weeks that you're going to maybe change a coach's mind.
Right.
You might have that odd guy that maybe nobody saw, and then you see him pop out.
Yep.
But even last year, we had a kid that we took from a different team, but we had seen him a bunch play before.
Right.
And then I was like, now he can, he's still got that same thing. So,
come join.
Anyways, I know we're running on here, but
that's all good.
I just think that's like, I don't think like the coaches, these 2 guys, one guy was a professional baseball player. This is like tryouts start now. No, like it should have been going like, so you're going to compete now. And I even said, you get some time to look at other guys. He's like, well, we've seen them for the last last 3 weeks. Like, if they're going to start playing harder now, that even makes it worse.
Right. Because you know why.
Why didn't you play harder then? And then we would have kept playing.
That's a lesson, kids, from Uncle Ryan. Everything matters.
Yeah. Like,
we're watching. Coaches are watching. They're watching practice. They're watching the way that you interact with your teammates. They're watching the way that you act with your parents. They're watching how you carry yourself on and off the ice, what you do in the gym. I mean, we've talked about that's what we get calls all the time from teams. And one of the first questions is, how is he in the gym? And they're not asking about his physical performance. Yeah. They're like, is he engaged?
Is he respectful?
Does he want to get better?
Does he listen?
Yeah.
Does he talk back? Does he have an answer for everything? Does he think he knows better?
Yeah.
Like, they're simple things, but like that what you and I are looking at a younger age, the scouts and the agents, they're not the agents so much, but the scouts and the NHL teams, they're asking the same questions.
Well, of course, because at the end of the day, when you get a bunch of people together, it's messy. It's unavoidable. Like, people are messy. So you want to try and minimize the mess as much as possible. It's no different than a business. Like, we all like each other here inside of this business, but we're still all people, and people are messy. So it's like, just accept that it's going to be messy and try and bias yourself towards as little mess as possible. And that comes from personality.
Something popped up on my phone about an interview for the NFL Combine or something. I think it was either last year, a tight end or whatever. And they grind those guys pretty hard. And he just said, I'm not going to be a problem to you guys. I'm not going to be a problem in the dressing room. Or he said something to that extent. He's like, I won't be a problem, man. I'll go to work. I'm a good teammate. Like, I'm a pretty good, hell of a good football player.
Yeah.
But he goes, you won't have a problem with me. Like, you imagine a kid coming in saying, I'm going to bust my hump, but you're not going to have any problems with me. No. Like, that's pretty, I'd be like, okay, pick you. And I think he had a big year too. I don't know if Cam saw it too. It was pretty cool. It was pretty.
We'll find the clip. We'll react.
Yeah, it's just like pretty cool for such a young kid coming out of university to have that mentality. Yeah. And I think that when Tiger came out, okay, we all know what's gone on in Tiger's life, but when Tiger came out, when Connor, when Sid, just the way they handled them, so the answers, the preparation, the way they talk, like this guy to say you're not going to have a problem. Like, awesome. Pretty cool.
Wicked. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on, bud.
Oh, bud.
Good episode.
Yeah.
We'll find the ladies singing at the old Chicago Forum, and
Philly.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Philly.
And
Philly, yeah. Good luck. Go. Good luck for the boys in the next push.
Yeah, last 5 games. And then we'll
5
see.
games, yeah, and then our other boys in the G, don't worry about it. Just practice well and OHL Cup.
Win to get in.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Take care.